The Categorical Imperative, Immanuel Kant. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to look at the Categorical Imperative by the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. So if you're interested in moral philosophy or just want to learn more about what makes something right or wrong, then this is the video for you. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Immanuel Kant was one of the most influential philosophers of the modern era. He made significant contributions to various fields, including metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, aesthetics, and political philosophy. However, in this video, we will focus solely on his ethical theory, which revolves around the concept of the categorical imperative. Kant's ethical theory is based on the idea that there are universal moral principles that govern human behavior. These principles are not based on emotions, personal beliefs, or societal norms, but rather on pure reason. According to Kant, humans have a duty to act in accordance with these principles regardless of their desires or inclinations. So what exactly is the categorical imperative? The categorical imperative is a concept in ethics that refers to a universal moral law that applies to all rational beings. It is a principle that guides us in determining what we ought to do in any given situation, regardless of our personal biases or interests. Kant believed that there is a single, supreme principle of morality, and he expressed it in several different ways. The most famous formulation is probably the second formulation, which states, "Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, always at the same time as an end." This formulation highlights the importance of treating others with respect and dignity, recognizing their intrinsic worth and avoiding using them merely as tools to achieve one's own ends. Another way Kant put it was, act according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. This formulation emphasizes the universality and coherence of moral principles. It suggests that we should only follow rules or maxims that we can will or desire to become universal laws applicable to everyone in similar situations. This helps us avoid making exceptions or bending the rules for ourselves while holding others accountable. A third formulation, often considered the most rigorous, is known as the first formulation of the categorical imperative. It states, "I ought always to act so that the maxim of my action could be a universal law." What does this mean? Let's break it down. The term maxim refers to the guiding principle or rule that we are following in our actions. For example, if we decide to keep a promise, the maxim would be something like "keep your promises." Now imagine that everyone in society followed this same maxim. Would it still make sense and be a viable way to organize society? If so, then it is a good and permissible maxim. But if it led to contradictions or breakdowns in communication and understanding, then it wouldn't work. Consider a scenario where someone says, "I'll meet you tomorrow at noon," and their maxim is, "Never tell people when you'll see them again." Clearly, this maxim isn't universally applicable because if everyone followed it, we couldn't coordinate anything and society couldn't function. So the categorical imperative challenges us to examine our motives and actions by asking whether we could reasonably will them to become universal laws. This helps us ensure that our moral principles are consistent, universal, and contribute to the common good of society. However, how do we determine whether something is right or wrong if we're not relying on emotion, personal beliefs, or societal norms? Kant argued that we can determine what is right or wrong by applying reason to universal moral principles. His ethical theory is based on the idea that humans have a duty to act in accordance with these principles regardless of their desires or inclinations. Kant referred to this as the categorical imperative because these moral laws are categorical, meaning they are absolute and unconditional. They do not depend on any particular circumstances, desires, or consequences. In addition, Kant believed that the categorical imperative could be used to develop a comprehensive system of ethics that applied to all aspects of human conduct. He identified three key elements of his ethical theory: the duty to act according to the categorical imperative, the autonomy of the individual, and the universality of moral principles. The duty to act according to the categorical imperative is the central tenet of Kant's ethical theory. He argued that individuals have a moral obligation to follow the categorical imperative, regardless of their personal feelings or inclinations. This means that even if we don't feel like doing something that is morally right, we still have a duty to do it. For example, if we see someone who is drowning and we could save them, but we don't feel like getting wet, we still have a moral obligation to help them. Kant also emphasized the importance of autonomy in his ethical theory. He believed that individuals should be treated as ends in themselves, and not merely as means to an end. This means that we should respect the autonomy and dignity of others and not use them as tools to achieve our own goals. For example, if someone asks us for our opinion on whether they should break up with their partner, we shouldn't manipulate them into staying in the relationship just because we think they're better off with their partner. Instead, we should respect their autonomy and let them make their own decision. Finally, Kant's ethical theory is based on the idea of universal moral principles. He argued that there are certain moral principles that apply to all rational beings, regardless of their background or beliefs. These principles are based on reason and are not dependent on emotions, personal beliefs, or societal norms. This means that we should treat others as we would want to be treated, and avoid treating them in ways that we would not want to be treated ourselves. It is important to note that Kant's ethical theory has been subject to various interpretations and criticisms over the years. Some critics argue that it is too rigid and inflexible, while others suggest that it is too abstract and difficult to apply in real-world situations. However, Kant's ideas have had a significant impact on moral philosophy and continue to be widely discussed and debated today. To understand the categorical imperative, let's look at some examples. Imagine you find yourself in a situation where someone threatens to harm you unless you help them cheat on an upcoming exam. They offer you in exchange your silence in return for their trust that you'll assist them in cheating during the exam. In this scenario, you're being asked to violate your duty as a student to uphold academic integrity by assisting another student in cheating, even though there may be personal consequences for you if you refuse to comply, such as potential physical harm from the person threatening you. You have a moral obligation to resist their demands. Your duty to act according to the categorical imperative supersedes any fear or potential harm you might face by refusing to participate in the cheating. You should stand firm on your moral principles and decline to help them cheat, despite the risks involved. Consider another situation where you witness a friend stealing from a store. As a bystander, you have the opportunity to intervene and stop your friend from engaging in this unethical behavior. In this case, your duty to act according to the categorical imperative compels you to confront your friend and discourage them from stealing, even though it might be uncomfortable to confront your friend and potentially damage your relationship. You have a moral obligation to uphold ethical standards and prevent theft. Your friend's actions are not only harmful to the store owner, but also reflect poorly on you as an accomplice. By remaining silent or passively supporting your friend's actions, you contribute to the perpetuation of dishonesty and injustice. Therefore, you must fulfill your duty to act according to the categorical imperative by speaking out against your friend as stealing, regardless of the personal cost. Let's look at another scenario. Imagine you come across a homeless person and feel compelled to help them. In this situation, your sense of compassion and empathy drive you to offer assistance. However, you must examine whether there is a duty to help in this case. While there is no explicit moral obligation to give money to a homeless person, your decision to do so reflects your values and sense of social responsibility. You have the ability to help alleviate their suffering and improve their well-being, even if it means sacrificing some of your own comfort. By offering assistance, you contribute to the creation of a more compassionate and equitable society. In conclusion, Immanuel Kant's ethical theory of the categorical imperative provides a robust framework for determining what is right or wrong by emphasizing the importance of universal moral principles and treating others with respect and dignity. By adhering to the categorical imperative, we can navigate complex ethical dilemmas, uphold our responsibilities as autonomous individuals, and contribute to the common good of society. Whether facing difficult decisions in everyday life or confronting challenging ethical issues, Kant's ethical theory offers a powerful lens through which to examine our actions and strive to be better, more responsible global citizens. What do you guys think about the categorical imperative? Do you agree with it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos.